Is this the beginning of the end for Vladimir Putin? It started last year with a Russian incursion around the Ukrainian borders, which eventually became an illegal invasion on their sovereign land. Now, Putin probably thought it would be over pretty sharpish, and he has all the military garb, albeit pretty out of date. But unfortunately for him, he underestimated the resolve of the Ukrainian people and the charisma and energy of their leader, Vladimir Zelensky, who, frankly, wasn't taking this lying down. I mean, would you? I know, if it were me, I'd fight to the death to protect my family. Today, it would seem for the very first time in this war that the Russian leadership under Vladimir Putin is being challenged. The Wagner group, Russian soldiers fighting alongside the army, who are the mercenaries, have turned on him. Putin is facing a potential coup. Now, the leader of the Wagner group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, is claiming that he has taken control of a Russian town called Rostov-on-Don. And this includes facilities which comprise of some 20,000 mercenaries who are supporting him, and they're on their way to Moscow. Earlier today, Putin made an address calling them all traitors and issued an arrest warrant.
Any internal turmoil is a mortal threat to our statehood, to us as a nation. This is a blow to Russia, to our people. Our actions to protect the homeland from such a threat will be harsh. All those who deliberately took the path of betrayal, who prepared an armed mutiny, who took the path of blackmail and terrorist methods, will suffer an inevitable punishment, will answer both to the law and to our people.
So in the meantime, he's unleashed helicopters and opened fire to scupper their efforts. But let us not forget Russian history. So in 1905, there was a minor revolution. Not the song, Rah, Rah, Rasputin, I can hear you all singing it. No, that's got nothing to do with it. Rasputin was a healer. He was trying to heal Nicholas II's son, who had haemophilia. Now, that was, of course, the least of their worries, because they were all killed in the Bolshevik Revolution, which comes some years later. Anyway, in 1905, civilians went to the Winter Palace to demand sustenance, and the army opened fire on them. And that's where they coined the phrase Bloody Sunday. Now, the second major insurgence was actually in 1917, when the Bolsheviks overthrew the royal family. And then later that year, they overthrew the interim government because the soldiers were sick and tired of fighting. Ironically, all of this was happening during the First World War. And as history seems to dictate, it would seem that this is the best time to carry out a revolution when there is a war. Now, the Bolsheviks, they murdered the royal family and installed Lenin as their leader, and that's when communism began. Peace, land, bread was his slogan. Of course, communism collapsed in 1991 under Mikhail Gorbachev. But my point is this: perhaps what's happened here is something similar to what happened in 1917. Maybe the Russians are sick and tired of fighting. Maybe they're sick of death. Since the war began, according to an assessment by the US Defense Intelligence Agency, Russia has suffered somewhere in the region of 189,000 to 223,000 total casualties. And that includes 35,000 to 43,000 killed in action and 154,000 to 180,000 wounded. Ukraine, on the other hand, has suffered 124,000 to 131,000 total casualties, including 15,000 to 17,000 killed in action and 109,000 to 113,000 wounded in action. And that is according to a document entitled Russia, Ukraine, Assess Combat Sustainability and Attrition. The figures are around 10 times bigger than any public casualty figures that have been published by either Moscow or Kyiv. But neither side gives timely data on military losses, so in truth their real numbers are considerably higher. The devastation doesn't bear thinking. People being displaced, raped and murdered, lives destroyed, families on both sides torn apart. And for what? Nobody can be happy with this, surely. In the Bible it says that we are merely stewards of the earth. It's simply our job to pass it on to the next generation, because everybody loses in war. I'm sure many like me are hoping that this is the end of Putin, but who's to say what will follow will be any better?